Sony creates its own esports league, and a winner is determined at Riot's World Championship. I'm John Reister, and with me, as always, are Meg, Turney, and the Daily Dot's Jared Wynne. Hello, everybody.
Oh, hi.
Here's what you need to know.
On Wednesday, Sony took over the world-famous Bernabeu soccer stadium in Spain to announce its own esports league called, you guessed it, the PlayStation Official League. Details are still scarce, but we do know that the competition will center around the PlayStation 4 as a platform, featuring games like FIFA 15 and Call of Duty Ghosts. The league will open in Spain before expanding to Italy and Portugal. So, Jared, what does it mean to have a company like Sony getting in on esports?
I think the big story here is a company like Sony getting behind it. We wondered for a long time what developers would do when they got involved in esports, and now we see Riot Games operates the biggest and most professional scene in esports with League of Legends. They have teams and players all over the world competing as true professionals. Valve has gotten involved, and they have the International, which is an $11 million or so, approximately, esports tournament that stands against any other sporting event in the world, basically. So having companies like Sony or potentially Microsoft get involved opens up a whole other set of potential possibilities. What's going to happen, it's hard to say. Some people will look at the fact that Sony might leverage their own private platform, the PlayStation 4, as a potential negative. But I think at this point, that money that comes in, the attention that comes in from a company like Sony can only be a good thing, even if we don't know what's going to happen with it. And we don't know right now. Sony's purposefully keeping this very small, keeping it into one very specific part of Europe. In time, I'm sure they'll expand to the rest of Europe, to North America, perhaps other regions as well. But they want to take baby steps right now, and the details are very scarce, so they're taking it slow.
It's certainly better than the absence of interest at all from big companies like that.
Yeah, and it's hard to ignore all of the money and the people who are involved now, the eyeballs that are out there to watch this sort of thing. You can't ignore it. It's just not good business to ignore it. So it's only a matter of time until companies like Sony get involved. Now they're getting involved, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Do we know why Spain?
Why not Spain?
Okay.
I guess that's a good question as well.
Just for the flowers and the roses and the teeth. That's basically why.
That's what esports players are.
That's the rumors I heard,
Right
from behind the lockers and stuff, where I talk to people behind the lockers.
We're really good at pissing off international audiences here.
Yeah. Those chocolate-eating Spaniards.
In Kiev, Ukraine, 4 of Europe's top Counter-Strike teams battled it out in the live playoffs for the SLTV Star Series League. We've been chronicling the shifting rosters of 3 top French Counter-Strike squads here on the leaderboard. Each of those teams were in attendance to do battle with local favorites Na'Vi. But despite the hometown support, the Ukrainian squad fell to the French team LDLC in the final. Jared, what was your takeaway from the tournament?
LDLC looks very good. That was my big takeaway. It's interesting because LDLC, prior to the big reshuffling, was probably the most interesting of the 3 major French teams. And after the reshuffling, even though the team was almost entirely different, they are still, to me, the most interesting team. You have a very capable sniper and Smiths. You have underrated players like Kiyoshima and Happy. You have a superstar player like Shox. This is just a great overall team. I left out MBK. I don't want him to feel sad. MBK, you're also a pretty good player.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, I know you were going to say that, John. You left out this one specific player. Gosh darn it. Dag nabbit. Yeah, they're really good, and this showed in that result. They're a very dynamic team. I just really like the way this team looks. They cover all the bases. That's what really works for me. And I think they have kind of a chip on their shoulder because it was players from Titan, Titan's captain specifically, Existence, who kind of brought about all these changes and left some of these current LDLC players on the outs. Now they're kind of like, hey, dude, you should have included us.
Yeah.
You should have thought about us. You should have.
Like a Pretty Woman moment.
Big mistake.
Big mistake.
Thank you. I got you.
Yeah. Exactly like that.
Julia Roberts reference on the leaderboard.
Shopping Pretty Woman.
A match-fixing scandal has hit Dota 2. A pair of Filipino teams were caught arranging the results of multiple games in the Star Ladder League. Screenshots proved the accusations true, and the teams themselves took action by suspending the players involved, each of whom then resigned.
It's possible that the scandal extends beyond the 2 teams implicated thus far, Mineski and MSI Evolution. Comments made by Michael Vincent Vallejos, who runs a Dota 2 item swapping community, imply that several teams are actually involved. But no additional players or teams have yet been proven guilty. Jared, how serious a problem is this?
It's very serious, unfortunately. It's very serious. Just yesterday, a story broke with some Polish Counter-Strike teams and players being involved in their own match-fixing scandal over in Poland in the ESL Pro Series there. That's quite bad. And there was a scandal before that with Civil Professional League, a Counter-Strike league here in North America, with some potential scandal issues going on there. There were denials in that case, and nothing was absolutely proven, but I would stand behind the reporting that was done there by some of my associates. Did a very good job, I think. So it's a big problem, and I think it's actually bigger than we see from the people getting caught. I think if you see this many people getting their hands caught in the cookie jar, you have to figure there's many more who are not getting caught. And every time someone gets caught like this, they hint at the fact that there's more people doing it. They say, well, I'm doing it, but trust me, half of the people I know are doing it as well. That's probably an exaggeration, but there is probably some truth there. I think you look at the fact that items can be traded in games like Counter-Strike and Dota 2. That's an easy thing to look at because it provides an easy way for this kind of betting to happen, for that monetary swaps to happen. But I think another thing to consider is the difficulty to be paid as a mid or lower tier professional player. If you're a mid-low tier professional player, or a really semi-professional player in this case, you can spend an entire year practicing a lot every week, like a full-time job practicing just for the game, and make, scratch, basically. Whereas you could do a match fix thing like this and make a few $1,000s in one day. It's hard not to go for that temptation. I'm not justifying it or saying it's a good thing to do because it can break down the entire competitive structure of a game. There's no competition if the teams are not actually competing. But it just shows a big hole that exists, I think, right now in professional gaming in general, that the top players get paid pretty well. We've covered some of the prize pools involved here. When you get to the mid-tier, and especially the lower tier of professional players, really, even in League of Legends, where you have a pretty significant professional structure, you run into issues like this. People just don't get paid, and they have to find a way to somehow get compensated for their time. Again, not justifying it, but I think that's kind of a hidden reason why this sort of thing happens.
The incentive
is interesting. Do you feel like it's liable to happen with anything? Like, it happens in professional sports all the time. Like, do you think that it just was natural that it would carry over to esports as well?
Yeah, well, people like to get paid, and it's not just happening right now. We saw some time ago, anyone's familiar with StarCraft or follows the scene of StarCraft Brood War from some time ago, one of the best players ever to play StarCraft, who went by the name Savior, was involved in a match-fixing scandal in Korea, and some other compatriots of his who were very good players were also involved. So this is going to happen as long as esports are a thing where money is being swapped, where money is being bet. It's going to happen. Another problem is that the administrative officials and management who are often involved are volunteers or very low paid, excuse me. So you don't always have people who are maybe in the best position to take care of stuff like this. You can't expect someone who's volunteering a couple hours a week to be able to authoritatively drop the hammer on a ring of professional players or semi-professional players who are involved in this sort of thing. So it's a really difficult issue to tackle, and there's multiple reasons why it exists. And I think it's a bigger problem than we actually know it is right now.
Interesting. And now, a quick update to a story we previously covered. Russian League of Legends star Alex Ichatovkin was forced to leave Sweden after falling out with ninjas in pajamas. Last week, Ichatovkin announced he'd be joining forces with Matthew the Impaler Taylor and some other former professionals to take a shot at making it back to the big leagues, the League Championship Series. Well, less than a week after forming, that team has already disbanded. It seems like Ichatovkin just can't catch a break.
Now here's a story you'll be hearing about again in the future. This summer, Robert Morris University revealed it would award scholarships to students who excelled at League of Legends. That's right, the university has a scholarship-based League of Legends team, and they seem actually pretty damn good. The Collegiate Star League got underway this month, and the team from Robert Morris stomped their opponents from the University of Kentucky. So, Jared, universities are backing, esports. What's that mean?
Yeah, well, we already talked about making that money, as we sometimes do here. And I think this is what's going on here. Collegiate athletics are ultimately a business. They're advertising for the universities. We have a university local to us here, the University of Texas, which has a pretty big football team, apparently.
A little big.
They make a lot of money through that. That's why it exists the way it does. It's why the coaches get paid millions of dollars. We're not going to see $5 million coaches in League of Legends anytime soon. But think about the type of person who's going to be really interested and really intrigued by a League of Legends team at a university. Maybe like a 16-year-old who plays a lot of League. The type of person who's trying to figure out what school to go to. Maybe they want to go to Robert Morris because there's a League team there. So this sort of thing makes a lot of sense from a business perspective for someone who's an athletic director. And
if they see other companies, like we were talking about Sony getting involved with esports, and they see more interest in esports in general as being a revenue stream, that in itself can be like, well, yeah, we'd love to get in their ground floor, start training our own, varsity esports players.
It is literally a varsity League of Legends team that they have, and they have players below that. They have
coaches.
They
have player jacket. They have varsity jackets.
I think they do actually. Yeah, they have a film room.
Don't hate over here.
No, I'm not hating.
You think the nerds get jackets sometimes? Sure.
You realize I'm the nerd over here as well, who did not have a varsity jacket.
I did. It was for band.
What?
Don't hate.
Nerd. What'd you play?
Flute.
Oh, super nerd.
Oh my God, not the flu.
Wait, what's wrong with the flu?
Well, you know what they say about poop players?
They're awesome and very great people.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I don't know how you knew that.
Jared's going to say that.
Yeah.
Verbatim.
Finally, the World Championship of League of Legends came to a conclusion this weekend. The competitors in the final were Korea's Samsung Galaxy White and China's Starhorn Royal Club. A massive stadium crowd was on hand in Seoul, South Korea to watch the final play out. Jared, walk us through what happened.
Samsung Galaxy White was pretty good. They've been pretty good throughout the entire tournament. They've only lost one game coming into the final. That was the Team Solo Mid in the quarters, and they pretty well dominated that series as well. And here they lost only one game to Royal Club. Just a really solid performance from them. They have such great players. Looper, Pon, really good guys. Mata playing from a support role was dominant. When you're dominating your opponents through the support role, that's when you begin to, it's like, okay, you guys got the advantage. Royal Club acquitted themselves pretty well. I mean, Samsung Galaxy White just played so well on such a high level to dominate the mid lane and the top lane from every area of the game. So for Royal Club to even get a game, the third they took, was pretty impressive, I thought. But White is just too good. They're so aggressive, and their aggression is so controlled. They know exactly when to press the issue. They get one little advantage early on. They turn that into another small advantage, and they turn those two small advantages into a big advantage, and they use that to pressure you in a way that you can't recover from. It worked against Samsung Galaxy Blue as well. It's not about Korean teams against teams from across elsewhere in the world, because White lost their two games against non-Korean teams, to an American team, Team Solo Mid, and to a Chinese team, Royal Club, here in the final. Against their Korean compatriots, they swept them. So this is just about this team, Samsung Galaxy White, being damn good, being better than the rest of the field. I think the field actually played pretty well against the Korean teams as a whole in the tournament. Najin White Shield got rocked in the quarterfinals by OMG. They almost got beat out by Cloud9 for the top spot in their group in group play. So I think overall the international team should feel good about their performance. It's just that Samsung Galaxy White was clearly the best team in the event, better than your team.
Well, so we talked about them only... Rude. I think we talked about them only dropping 2 games, but I still felt like maybe just from my perspective they were still like a little bit of an underdog because of what they said at their press conference before they played Blue, saying like we're sick of getting beat by them. Like, were they really an underdog, or was it like kind of a play for?
That's just, I think, the approach they take to the game. After the final was concluded, they basically said, we still are not the best team in the world. We're just going to go back to practice tomorrow. So, yeah, how cute that these guys who just eviscerated everyone are like, oh, shucks, we tried our best.
Man.
Is it like the Taylor Swift thing, though? Is it like, oh, okay, you're still surprised you're winning shit? Or is it like, oh, they really do think they're not the best? How cute.
I don't know. Maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't want to say that because we already pissed off every
Let's not talk about cultural.
those chocolate-eating Koreans, they don't know.
So much chocolate.
I know. It's the world's... chocolate.
It's the world's currency.
That's a well thought out joke.
Thank you. Yeah. Everything I say is well thought out, John.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Because I don't have a script to read.
That's it for the leaderboard this week. Join Meg and Ashley for the Know-It-All on Friday on the Rooster Teeth channel, where they'll bring you all the biggest news stories of the week in one shot.
In the meantime, for more gaming and entertainment news, make sure you click like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week for more from the leaderboard. GG, kids.
GG.